Hello and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Bajo.
And I'm Hex, and on the show this week we delve into the crazy, critically acclaimed fighter BlazBlue Calamity Trigger. Ajax looks at how sleep affects your gaming.
Shouldn't that be the other way around?
No.
And tackle Rugby League 3 on the Wii.
That's a penalty.
But first, can you guess the game for this week? There's a lot of stuff to get through, Badge. You better dash to the news. Whoa, that's crazy.
Good game.
More bad news from Infinity Ward, the home of Call of Duty. 2 more high-profile staff members have left the company. Lead designer Todd Alderman and lead software engineer Francesco Gigliotti have quit, barely a month after the studio's founders Vince Zampella and Jason West were sacked for alleged breach of contract. Zampella and West have now launched a lawsuit against Activision. Ubisoft recently sparked international controversy by introducing strict new anti-piracy measures. The shortcomings of this approach were laid bare recently when The Settlers 7 proved unplayable for many Aussie and international gamers. Ubisoft responded to complaints on their official forum, promising that a solution to the technical gaffe would be found, but many gamers were left staring at an unusable game icon on their desktop for a full 10 days after purchase. Now that April Fool's Day is long gone, we can calmly survey the damage. PopCat Games announced Celebrity Bejeweled to be sold in a limited edition retail box crafted from cubic zirconia. Blizzard announced the imminent release of the Extreme Gamer blanket, designed to look like a wizard's robes. Remedy Games announced Alan Wake Wars. And Platinum Games revealed a new 2D game titled Bayonetta Angelland. And Bungie released the highly anticipated trailer for the Halo film, and it's gone Bollywood.
I need a weapon!
Classic video game high scores have been toppling worldwide, but one score has resisted the onslaught of a new generation of gamers thanks to its staggering enormity. Scott Safran set the world record for asteroids back in 1982, and for almost 3 decades it seemed inconceivable that anyone would ever top the high score of 41,336,440. But Safran's record has fallen. Seattle resident John McAllister has the new #1 score with a mighty 41,338,740 points. Great work, John, but will your record last another 28 years?
Good game. Here's a good piece of work by Gordon. The big Eagles game. They have scored one finish.
Rugby League 3 is the next game in the Rugby League series from New Zealand developer She, and is a Wii exclusive.
Now, Hex, it's no secret that I'm not really a sports kind of guy, but I have liked rugby games in the past, so I'm at least prepared to give Rugby League 3 a try.
That's how it's going to be, is it?
Yes, now the first thing you'll have to tackle is the controls. You have 3 options: the Wiimote and the Nunchuck, or the GameCube. And if you don't have a GameCube controller, just don't get this game. It's that simple.
Yeah, I agree. The game really rewards you for well-timed passing, and you just don't get that accuracy with the Wii remote.
Once you've plugged in your GameCube controller, it's off to the options screen where you can choose from over 80 teams, including the NRL teams, internationals, and State of Origin. The teams were locked off halfway through last year, but you can edit the options to bring them up to date.
Yeah, and you can mess with virtually all the rules. You can turn off knock-ons, forward passes, offsides, for example. You can even go back in time to before 1967 and have unlimited tackles.
Been a terrific build-up to this clash. Let's get it started.
You kick off the game by kicking off, and there's a lot of controls. So originally, Hex, I put the difficulty on reserve just to get a bit of a run and pass game happening.
Or able to take that catch.
And you know what, Hex? I enjoyed myself. Once I got past that compulsion to just try and score off every single play, I even managed to develop a kicking game.
There's angle on this kick.
Yeah, I had it on season difficulty, and here you really need to have a good grasp of the intricacies of the game. Using the D-pad, you can change your strategy on the fly.
Henderson.
If you're attacking, you can set up for things such as bombs, field goal attempts, and bring the fullback up to the line.
That's the third.
If you're defending, you can set up to receive a kick, try to charge one down, and of course everyone's favourite, the blitz.
Everything plays as it should. If you force a pass, you'll probably knock on. If you work down the left and switch play to the right, you'll probably find a gap. And the AI is workmanlike, so it'll give you a convincing game of footy.
Oh, is cleared through the defence. Sharp. They are on the ball.
Commentary is by professional commentator Andrew Voss, and I find I just tuned him out most of the time, but then when I turned it off, I actually started to miss him a little bit.
Here's Smith. Smith explodes through the tackle.
One really cool thing is that the game has over 2,000 surnames, so if you have a really common surname, you can create a player using it, and that'll be in the commentary.
O'Donnell. Passing to O'Donnell. Upended by Vanover. Smith gets through the front line. O'Donnell. Oh, he's not held. O'Donnell looks at the defence and puts on a sprint. No one lays a hand on him. No one was capable. What a try.
I triumph on the virtual field, but the graphics gave me nightmares, Hex. In-game, they're not too bad and they don't glitch out much, but the close-ups, Hex, the close-ups, it's like some sort of Doctor Who humanoid villain.
Yeah, they had really smooth skin, but I mean, if you squint, it kind of makes for a passable likeness.
Another thing that annoyed me was the lack of pomp and circumstance. You work your way through a whole NRL season, get to the grand final, and what do you get? A blimp-eye view of the stadium and some weak hyperbole from Mr. Voss.
Welcome to the grand final. This is the big one.
Or let's say you make it to the 2013 World Cup final. What do you get? Some fireworks? Maybe some doves being released? Nope, not even a single balloon. You just get, you guessed it, another aerial shot of the stadium.
The world champions will be decided tonight. Welcome to the final of the Rugby League World Cup.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't have the production values of an EA title, but it was probably produced for a fraction of the cost of something like Madden or FIFA.
You can have up to 8 players at once, 4 using the Wiimote and 4 using the GameCube controllers, and you'll have to draw straws about who gets the GameCube ones.
Yeah, I did find this game was the most fun as a solo experience though. You know, spending all your rucks, setting up for the big play, getting a last-minute try. It just felt better knowing you were doing it all yourself.
You hear that? That's the fat lady doing her stuff. It's all over here.
For those who want to be Russell Crowe, you can manage your own selected team for 12 years. You're responsible for training, player contracts, and general team management.
You can play this mode and not set foot on the field, just managing your team and letting the Wii play out the games. Be warned though, if your team struggles, you can be fired. Well, we're almost at full time. Final thoughts, Bajo?
One thing that did bug me is the kickoff animation. You can't skip it, and because there's plenty of tries scored, you'll just see it all the time.
Teams waiting now for time on.
And no online, what's all that about? Having said that though, I did have some fun here. It's one of those one more go kind of games, but not being a League fan, I couldn't quite get into all the options and I did eventually get bored, so I'm giving it a converted 6 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, I had a few niggles too, like in defence. During the ruck, you can only select the markers of the fullback, which means furious button stabbing after the play to switch to the closest defender, and the conversions are basically just a reflex test. Why couldn't I have used the classic controller? I mean, it couldn't have been worse than the nunchuck. Still, this gameplay is great for the most part, and if you're a League fan, then it's everything you could hope for. I'm giving it a penalty try, 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Good game.
If laughter is the best medicine, then there are some games that are so funny they deliver a giant hypodermic full of lols directly into your veins. And the following 5 games are 5 of the biggest doses you'll ever take. This is a good game, top 5 gaming lols. Let's get ready to ruffle! First up is the misadventure of the most lovably pathetic lowlife ever to grace a computer monitor, Leisure Suit Larry. We know that Larry has been trodden into the dirt by the game's most recent sequels, but trust us when we say, once upon a time, Larry was actually funny. The best Larry games were a seedy combination of risque gags, cheap titillation, and baffling puzzles. And in our opinion, the funniest one is still the original, Land of the Lounge Lizards. Larry himself was a middle-aged man trying to recapture his lost youth by scoring with as many lovely ladies, and a few not-so-lovely ones, as he could get his hairy little palms on. Making for some of the most uncomfortably funny situations in all of gaming history. Number 4 sees us taking to the Caribbean Isles in search of a secret. That's right, you scurvy dogs, it's the secret of Monkey Island. With a wit sharper than a pirate's cutlass, and with belly laughs bigger than, well, this guy's really big belly, Monkey Island saw you wearing the pantaloons of one Guybrush Threepwood, a wannabe rapscallion with a bone to pick with the villainous ghost pirate LeChuck. This game is a treasure chest overflowing with comedic gold, right from your first insult sword fighting match all the way through to the final root beer shaking showdown with LeChuck. The secret of Monkey Island delivers enough gags to sink a galleon.
I'm going to give that mirror a piece of my mind.
The Simpsons may be funny as a cartoon, but when it comes to video games, they almost always manage to make a mess of it.
That's ridiculous. I'm not a video game character. I'm a real-life person with dreams and feelings. All right, fine. I'm a video game guy.
After appearing in numerous worst games ever, the first family of sitcom hilarity finally found themselves in a game that was actually funny.
You want a piece of this? Your mouth is a serial killer!
The Simpsons game featured some genuinely funny parodies of well-known video games, including EverQuest,
You're one sexy MILF.
The word is elf.
Medal of Honor,
I hope that gun didn't have a family.
and Katamari Damacy. It even featured a cameo from king of the computerverse, game developer, and super nerd Will Wright.
Oh my god, it's a nerd!
That's right, the nerdiest nerd in the computerverse.
Dad, that's Will Wright, designer of SimCity and The Sims.
Don't forget my biggest flop, Sim Sandwich. Its failure drove me mad. Mad!
Of course, the actual gameplay wasn't quite as fun as the comedy was funny, but at least it wasn't as bad as Krusty's Super Funhouse.
Wow, we look so pixely.
And poorly rendered. Which one is supposed to be me?
Tim Schafer's comedy adventure masterpiece, Psychonauts, is notorious for not selling many copies when it was first released in 2005. But what it lacked in sales, it more than made up for in laughs.
And I'll kick your astral projection out of here too if you don't get moving right now!
Psychonauts was clever, playful, and definitely the most sophisticated game on our list.
You're stupid. The coach is stupid. The whole camp is stupid. That thing flying at you is stupid.
What's flying at me?
Playing as Rasputin, or Raz for short, you were the newest recruit at a summer camp for psychic children. The characters were all slightly disturbed, in a good way, and you had to infiltrate their twisted subconscious minds.
Now get in here and give me 20.
And what you found there was sometimes scary, sometimes weird, but always hilarious. With enough wit to fill several games with, Psychonauts is the penultimate placement in our pentathlon of pee yourself laughing playthings.
I don't feel so good now. You guys enjoy yourself and all that, and I'll probably see you sometime next week. I gotta go home. I'll go this way. Oh, no, that's the toilets. Go this way. Yeah, that's better.
Playing on every cutesy platform game cliche and turning them on their head, Conker's Bad Fur Day featured a foul-mouthed, hard-drinking, ultra-violent squirrel with a very lowbrow sense of humour. The game's hilarious highlights include squirrel hangovers, hopelessly incompetent villains, using your pee as a deadly weapon, as well as spot-on spoofs of The Matrix, Saving Private Ryan, and many other popular movies. Any of these moments would have easily snagged Conker a place in our top 5, but what really makes it number 1 is this. It's not every day you get to face off against a giant living doo-doo, and it's even rarer to find one who can sing quite this well.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat?
You have to hurl toilet paper at the claggy beast to try and defeat him before he has a chance to do some fairly unsavoury things to you.
Now I'm really getting rather mad. You're like a niggly, tickly, shitty little tag nut. When I've knocked you out with all my bab, I'm going to take your head and ram it up my butt.
Your butt?
My butt.
Your butt?
That's right, my butt.
Ugh.
My butt.
Ugh.
My butt.
After the funniest boss battle ever committed to a video game, your success will result in the Great Mighty Pooh taking the inevitable ride around the S-Bend for a truly flushing finale.
Now that's what I call a bowel movement.
So if you need the best medicine, then just take Dr. Bajo PhD's advice and stick with our 5-step comedic remedy. Take them all at once and come back and see us next week.
We ran a viewer poll asking you what you thought was more important, gaming or sleep.
And 65% of you said gaming.
No surprises there, but if you're constantly swapping sleep for gaming, then what effect is it having on our bodies and our brains?
I say nothing! But Ajax finds out more.
You might think that the only effect of our late-night gaming sessions are a few yawns the next day. But science is telling us otherwise.
While this may look like a watch, it's actually a small actigraph unit. By measuring levels of light and movement over the next 7 days, it's going to record my periods of wake and sleep. I'm going to continue to game for the first 3 days, then cut out all gaming for the remaining 4. After the week-long study, we'll have some idea just what effect late-night gaming is having on my sleep. All right, it's 3 nights of gaming done. Feeling pretty normal. Going to bed 2, 3 o'clock. Nothing much to report. All right, 2 days without a game. Going to bed a little bit earlier, probably. I'm itching for a game, though. All right, 4 nights done. Got a bit more sleep, I guess. It's been a while since I haven't played games for 4 days, though, like Red Ring of Death. After 3 nights of intense gaming and 4 nights of zero gaming, the actigraphy data has been sent to this sleep research lab to be analysed. Let's see what they found out.
Looking at your actigraphy report here, you can see how gaming has had a considerable effect on your sleep-wake patterns. Your sleep has been delayed. You've got into bed at about 2 and you're quite wide awake at that point, that first night. Following gaming, it's taken at least 40 minutes to go to sleep. But it's had consequences on the 2 nights following those gaming nights, where it's taken you nearly an hour to go to sleep. Healthy sleepers go to sleep generally within about 15 to 20 minutes, and if it takes you longer than 30 minutes, we perceive that as a symptom of insomnia. So major consequences in the first 2 nights, but it's taken up to 4 nights really for you to get back into a much better pattern.
I find that I don't really realise how long I've been playing often. You know, I'd be sitting there looking at the screen for ages, hammering away, and then suddenly you look at your watch and it's like, whoa, 3:30. It's like, oh, maybe time to hit the hay, you know. It happens.
I'm used to playing games and feeling hungry and tired, and it's quite a normal thing. You've always got that achievement, you've always got that goal to reach, so you kind of put those things aside so that you can actually get there and have a win.
What's happening to our bodies when we game late at night that prevents us feeling tired?
Most times cortisol is released in the body when we're in a situation of fight or flight. And cortisol keeps us alert and wakes us up.
I think it's, all the stimulation of your senses, literally. And you're having the headphones on and you're sitting there in the dark and you're looking at that white screen. It just, I don't know, maybe it just mesmerises you a bit.
For us to be physically ready for sleep, we need outside or environmental triggers. So we need increasing darkness or less light. It sends a message to the pineal gland and it releases the hormone melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. The key components there is that you've got close proximity to light and colour. Being close to a computer screen, we're probably getting somewhere between 1,000 and 3,000 lux. That will, in the morning, wake us up, which is great. But if you're having that intensity of light close to your retina, that really gives our poor brain mixed messages. It thinks it should be suppressing melatonin and therefore sleep timing gets changed.
In the morning when the alarm goes off, I'm never in a good mood, but it's especially bad if I had a big session and I didn't get enough sleep.
What could be the possible health repercussions of late night gaming?
We know that young, healthy people who are sleep deprived, their performance is greatly reduced in terms of reaction times. We know that mood gets changed, anxiety is increased. They're then putting themselves at risk for anything from cardiovascular disease. It increases our inflammatory response within the body, lowers immune system, and has effects in terms of endocrine function. And often when you're not getting enough sleep, you want fat, salt and sugar. And so there's often another factor of increased weight gain and obesity.
So what would your advice be to gamers who still want a good night's sleep?
I guess it's about setting boundaries. Selecting a time that no matter what stage of a game you are at, or whether you are in a winning streak or a losing streak, that you have an undertaking with yourself that you are going to stop at that point.
So not only is gaming at night generally going to have us staying up later, but when we finally decide to log off, chances are our bodies won't realise it's time to sleep. On that note, I should probably go to bed. Just as soon as I hit this next save point.
BlazBlue Calamity Trigger came out in arcades in 2008 in Japan and then on home consoles there last year, and it's finally landed on our shores to excite and confuse us.
It's the year 2199 and the librarian's greatest foe, the man with the highest single bounty on record, Ragnar the Blood Edge, is rumoured to have appeared in the 13th hierarchical city of Kagutsuchi.
We're reading from the manual because we have no idea what this game is about. In fact, this isn't really helping.
Cut phases 12 through 24. If the warp coefficient is within 3 units of nominal, cut phases 29 through 36 too. Let's take this straight to the tempering phase.
Roger.
What?
This fighter has a pretty in-depth story, but it's all told through still cutscenes and heaps of narrative that you have to spool through. And each character has their own story that you'll progress through, and as you do, you'll be rewarded with strange things like this cartoon.
Hey, booby lady! I came to visit.
Yes, there are many strange things in this game, and it does take quite a while to get used to it, but it's classic Japanese anime-inspired characters with hilariously over-the-top dialogue. Although, after a while in the story mode, I just got fed up with skipping through all that dialogue, especially as when you die, you can't retry straight away. You have to go back and load an old save file, then skip through it all again, and so I just jumped straight into the arcade mode and started smashing face.
Yeah, there is a lot of backstory if you want it, and at least there is a story.
Please select your character.
There's a smallish roster of 12 characters, but they all have pretty different fighting styles, so you forgive the fact that there's only 12 pretty quickly. Raga likes to jump around swinging his sword about, and Rachel is this cutesy Lolita vampire who has cute little pets that electrocute your face.
Yeah, they're so crazy. There's even a weird blob that just spends most of its time looking gross, and some of these characters are really hard to master.
Yeah, there's a real mix here. Some of the characters have a companion or an object they can activate from a distance to sandwich you, but these characters will be weaker in other areas, so it all balances out.
Yeah, as soon as you find your favourite, you'll start exploring the combat system, and that's where things get interesting. As you attack, you build up a heat meter, and when you get this over 50%, you can use very powerful special moves that are quite spectacular.
This means that if you're in a good fight with lots of blocking, these special moves can be a deciding factor, and it makes for a really spectacular fight.
There's also astral heat moves, and these consume 100% of your heat meter, and they can only be performed in the final round and if your enemy only has 20% or less health, and if it lands, it's a definite win.
Well finished. Yeah, blocking is a big part of any fighter, but here you have two types. The standard block will wear down like a tug of war against your opponent. You can also recover from any fall, which means many rounds see you bouncing all over the screen, which can get pretty hectic.
There's also a barrier which works like a shield, and you can overcharge this, which destroys the barrier but also sends a shockwave out and knocks your opponent down. I found I did it all the time by accident though, Hex, because on the controller it's quite hard getting used to the way it's all set up.
Yeah, it is hard to pull off some of the moves in the controller, like the block counter, which is called counter assault, but you can remap all of the buttons and the options. This game started out in the arcades, so it's really good to play with a chunky old arcade stick if you've got one.
At first I hated, then really liked the fact that you could map all the basic special moves to the right stick. It makes for some really spectacular fluid combo shenanigans.
And some of those distortion moves really make you cheer with excitement in a close battle. Distortion finish! And the online options are excellent, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. You can have 6 people join one match and then 4 just like to watch while the other 2 play. We had a little bit of trouble connecting to those spectator matches though.
It was laggy.
Laggy. All in all, I quite like this fighter. It took me a while to get into it, but once I found my guy and remapped my controls and just learned about how those combos work, I really dug it. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
The tutorial mode really gives you a lot of options for practicing your technique, like the record and replay function. It was a really solid fighting system, but you have to love the characters, and I did. Plus, I loved the art and design. I thought it was just great. I'm giving it 8 as well.
Good game. So were you able to name the game for this week?
It was, of course, Guilty Gear on PlayStation, the classic 2D fighter by BlazBlue developer Arc System Works that would go on to see about 10 further installments.
Well, that's it for another week. Next week, we sneak it up with Sam Fisher in Splinter Cell Conviction.
And we settle with Settlers 7. That's a lot of settlers. Don't forget about GGSP on the weekend over on ABC3. Until next time, gamers, may all your games be good ones. Hex out.
But out. Well, I'm going to bed.
No, you're not. You're going to go play Splinter Cell.
Yeah, in bed.
Have some more caviar.